and this is the place to be for education about asexuality. All things asexual. I share my asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that great big subscribe button right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now, post a new video. I'm going to move the camera over a little bit so you can see more of my face and less of my wonderful array of movies in the back there. There we go. So you can still see some. But I got tons of them. But today's episode is all about how to have a successful relationship, an asexual relationship, which could mean you're with another asexual, for example, or it could also mean you are having a successful relationship being asexual and a person being not asexual. Basically, it's how to have asexual relationship success. I'm specifically more thinking about having a relationship success with another asexual person, because more and more I'm finding in asexual groups and forums, people are encountering a lot of problems even within the asexual community, with people ghosting them and people not just working out, and people saying they want friends or a relationship that it doesn't really happen, and progress is not being made, and people don't seem to be living up to what they say they want, right? So in order to make life easier, I've come up with 7 different types of questions you need to ask, or 7 questions you could say you need to ask when you are looking for getting into a relationship with someone. Because if you don't have any structure to your dating, to your asexual dating or relationship looking, searching, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very higgledy-piggledy, all over the place, quite chaotic, and you're not really going to be able to hone down on what you really want if you're serious about a relationship, that is. Because there's a lot of asexuals that don't seem that serious. It's like, oh, if I get a relationship, I get one. If I don't, I don't. And it's not really something they really, really want. You've got to really, really want a relationship for a start before you even get into like how to do that, how to get a relationship. You need to know why you're getting into a relationship in the first place. Because I see a lot of asexuals that and tons of people that are not asexual. There's a load of people on Facebook dating who get into a relationship because they're lonely. If I take Facebook dating, which is not for it's not an asexual dating app. It's got loads of sexuals on there, unfortunately, but I think there are a few asexuals on there, including me. So yeah, if we take that for example, there's so many people on there, and they're not really looking for a serious relationship. They're looking to hook up and stuff like that. And obviously asexuals don't usually go around looking to hook up, but they seem to not know what they want, why they want a relationship. And lots of people on Facebook dating, for example, they use it to pass the time because they're bored, because of lockdown and everything like that, especially when that was going on. They're kind of using people because they were bored to have someone to talk to and stuff like that. You shouldn't form a relationship with someone to have someone to use someone for when it suits you, right? You've got to care about the person. So here are 7 questions. I have actually prepared these ones that you can ask to help decide if a person would be a good fit for you to be in a relationship with, potentially. So number 1 is ask the question, what are you looking for in a relationship? Because if someone doesn't know what the heck they're looking for in a relationship, what are the odds of them finding what they're not looking for, or don't know what they're looking for? You can't find something usually very easily if you don't know what it is you're actually looking to find. So it's very important to ask the question, what are you looking for in a relationship, right? That's very general, and people should come up with an idea of what type of relationship they're after. But to be more specific and really find out if they're serious about a relationship or not, you need to ask the question, how would the relationship work on a day-to-day basis? This is such a powerful question, because the first question is, if they can't answer what they're looking for in a relationship, they're like, I don't know. Clearly that's not going to be a good person to be in a relationship with, because they don't know what the hell they want. And if you ask, like, how would it work on a day-to-day basis, and they really haven't got a clue about that, they're not serious about a relationship. They haven't seriously thought about it. So if they get into a relationship with someone, it'll be all over the place. It'll be chaotic. There won't be much stability to it. They'll be could chop and change their mind every 5 minutes. and it's no good for the person who's in a relationship with them. So that's why you need to find out at the very beginning of the potential relationship, what are you looking for in a relationship? How would it work in reality by, day-to-day basis? Number 3 is life goals, because if your life goals are very different, say you want to go backpacking around Australia for a year and the other person wants to settle down and maybe buy a house, then clearly those different goals are not going to work, because you're not going to see each other. You're both going to be going off doing your own thing and not spending quality time together or any time at all, right? It's just like life goals are completely different. It's just not worth going there. It's not worth heartache and pain when you're both going different directions. So yeah, distance. This is very closely linked to distance. Like, how far are you from the other person? Is it within walking distance? Is it within short distance or long distance in your country? Or are we talking miles across the oceans? Because if it's miles across the oceans, this is what is very difficult to do. And I wouldn't recommend doing a long distance relationship for more than 18 months, because a year to 18 months, really, the person should know that they want to be with you, have got to know you over a period of time, and then come to live near you. Because, if you keep leaving it and it goes on to 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, more than likely one person will not want to move in the end. They'll be too stuck where they're living and they'll just be comfortable, and neither of people is prepared to move, and that just doesn't work. Long distance can't be long distance forever. Something needs to give and someone needs to move. One person needs to move to the other, or, that's the way it is. So number 5 is interests. Have they got similar interests to you? Like, do you like movies? Do you like music? Do you like pottery? Do you like art? Do you like photography? And if you like those things, like, how many of those things does that other person like? Right? So that's really important, because if you haven't got much in common, you're going to get bored really easily. Physical compatibility is really important. So I personally love kissing, but not many romantic guys who are asexual are into as much kissing as me, but that is a real big need of mine. So I need to make sure I can get someone to fulfill that need in a relationship. Someone who's into kissing, cuddling, holding hands. It's a big deal for me. And similarly for you, it might be that you love cuddling and you can't be with someone who wouldn't cuddle you because you have that innate need and desire, right? So physical compatibility is really important. Like, do they like touching? If so, how much? Where? Where's off limits? And all that type of thing. And just, you need to explore that more. And number 7 is boundaries, right? If you've got different boundaries to the person that you want to be in a relationship with, usually that will not work out, because if the boundaries are too different, it means one of you is going to be unhappy or uncomfortable. For example, if you do something and a person is not comfortable about something you do, but it isn't a bad thing, it isn't detrimental to anyone, it isn't specifically hurting anyone as such, but that person feels it's unacceptable to them in a relationship, right? You've got boundary issues and standard issues, because if one person thinks, it's okay to do something, but the other person thinks they shouldn't be doing that in a relationship, it's not how they want the relationship to be, they don't think that's right to do that specific thing in a relationship, but they can't tell the person, like, don't do that. If the person decides they don't want to do it because they want to be with the person, and they decide, well, the thing I do I can do without, that's different. But you can't try and change someone. So you've got to get similar compatible boundaries. So what does boundaries mean? Boundaries are likes, needs, wants and dislikes in a relationship, and they've got to be very similar, because and also boundaries are things like, oh, hi Sparky, it's nice to see you, how are you doing? Lovely to see you. Thanks for the thumbs up. So boundaries are very important, because boundaries are also how you keep yourself safe, like physically, like what's your limit on physical touch or kissing or physicality. That's a big boundary. But also boundaries as in conduct within the relationship, like what would you consider cheating, what would the other person consider cheating. You should be discussing all this up front, because, like, for me personally, I'm an asexual that thinks cuddling should just be in a relationship. It shouldn't be anywhere else outside a relationship. I don't agree with cuddling your friends. To me, cuddling is too intimate for friendship. But there are a number of asexuals I've come across, especially aromantic asexuals, who like cuddling their friends, and they think that that's fine, it's normal behaviour, nothing wrong in that, right? And so it doesn't mean to say that the aromantic asexuals are wrong. They're not wrong for them. They like that, they enjoy it, it makes them happy, right? But for me, personally, I don't like that. I don't think it's right for a friend to do that with another friend, because I think it's too intimate. I think that intimacy should be with someone you love and in a serious, committed, romantic relationship, or in a queer platonic relationship. I don't think it should be shared with people you're not in a relationship with. So my boundary is that I would not be able to accept a guy who was cuddling his friends, because that to me would be like cheating. Right, so that's a boundary I have, a standard I have. Doesn't mean to say the person's wrong for doing that, but it would be wrong to do it in a relationship if they were with you, or me in this case, because I consider it cheating. But if they don't consider it cheating, it doesn't mean to say they're wrong. It just means to say these people are incompatible. I'm not compatible with someone who likes to cuddle their friends, because to me that's cheating, and to them it's fun and they like it and it's nice and they want to do it and they don't see any harm in it. And it's right for them because it makes them happy, right? So the two people here, I'm not wrong, they're not wrong, we're just incompatible in our boundaries. Because if that person gets with another person in a relationship that also cuddles their friends, they both cuddle their friends, they're both going to feel comfortable in the relationship, because they're going to be like, this is normal for us. I cuddle my friends, you cuddle your friends, we come together, we still have a relationship, and it's going to be happy, right? But when you've got two people who've got different standards and boundaries, this is when it doesn't work. So this is why you have to establish as a seventh thing, what are your boundaries? What are your standards? You need to be asking them. And maybe the person doesn't tell you, oh, this is a boundary or this is a standard. So maybe you'll have to ask about expectations. Like, what's your expectations in a relationship? What do you consider cheating? What physical things are you willing to do and not willing to do? How far are you willing to go and not willing to go? All these type of questions. And it's really important you do this, because it's really difficult when feelings and emotions are high, when you have, well, I don't get crushes, but some people get crushes in the asexual community. In my case, it's love feelings or romantic feelings or both. So, it's no good if I feel really strong romantic or love feelings for someone and I really love them or really feel romance for them, but yet they're doing something that for me personally would make me uncomfortable because it'd be going over my boundary. Do you see what I mean? So it doesn't matter how much I love the person. I want to love them for who they are, but if I don't actually love them for fully who they are, as in I don't like everything about them, I don't like their standards and boundaries because to me they're not compatible with mine, then we shouldn't be in a relationship, because we can't make each other happy. If that person, so for example, if the aromantic asexual person, just take that as an example, random example, but obviously it's relevant to this video. Say the aromantic asexual said, okay, I'll stop cuddling my friends. They're going to be really unhappy because they're going to think, why should I stop cuddling my friends? I know my partner doesn't like it because they consider it cheating, but why should I stop cuddling my friends when it makes me happy? It feels good, and me and my friends are used to doing that. It's part of our lifestyle, it's part of the way we are with each other. We're caring in that way, and to stop doing that with like my best friends would just be weird, because they expect that now, and we've grown used to doing that together, and it feels really good for us. And they kind of like, you're taking something away from them, right? Unless they decided themselves later on, well, actually, I've changed my mind now. I'm kind of a different person. I've decided that it's not a good idea to cuddle my friends because it does get too intimate. Boundaries get crossed. Things get misconstrued. And it just starts being uncomfortable. They might have had that experience, right? But if their experience is they love it, they enjoy it, they think it's good for them, they're saying, okay, I won't do that. So kind of trying to keep you happy. I mean, if a person really loves you, they will probably change a certain amount and they want to accommodate you and make you happy. That's kind of normal, but you've got to be careful because they can do it with resentment. Even if they don't resent you right now, it's like down the line, it's like, well, you've not changed. Well, I've changed for you. It can start getting tit for tat. So it's not a good idea. But, if one person gets in a relationship and tries to change another, so, for example, the aromantic asexual says, well, it's fine for me to cuddle my friends, there's nothing wrong with it, and that other person feels it's cheating, then it's like saying, well, I'm okay to cheat on you, but I don't class it as cheating. I'm just cuddling my friends. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And so either the person who's a receiver of that information, who thinks it's cheating, feels really let down, betrayed, upset, and in emotional pain because they're like, how can I be in a relationship with someone who I feels cheating on me all the time? But the aromantic asexual, if they stop doing that to please their partner, it will take away some of the essence and being of who they are, because they're used to doing that. It's a regular thing for them maybe, and they feel comfortable doing that, and it's kind of a central part for their well-being. That they do that because it feels good to them. And to cut off from that would be like cutting something off inside them, and they'd be like lacking in that, and it'd be like, well, I've given it up for this person, but I really like it. And so one of the people is going to feel bad. Either aromantic asexual is going to feel bad for trying to give it up or refrain from doing it and holding themselves back, or the other person will feel bad that they're being like cheated on, and it's basically they're saying that there's nothing wrong with it, it's not being cheated on, but to the other person it feels like it is, and it feels so wrong. And then the fact that the other person, aromantic asexual in this case, doesn't even care, because they think, oh, it's nothing bad, I'm just doing it, it makes me happy, there's nothing wrong in it, it's normal, it would just really make the person uncomfortable. But similarly, if they gave it up, it'd be like, like cutting off a part of who they are. So two people can love each other loads, but be very different, and it just doesn't work because they can't make each other happy, because they don't love each other. They might love each other implicitly, but they don't love the person with all their circumstances, boundaries, and standards that come with them, if you know what I mean. They can't love that person in their entirety as they are, because they need that person to change in some way, or they won't be happy. But if either of them change, they won't be happy. So they can't be happy together, because either scenario, they can't win. They can't be happy. In order for them to be happy, both would have to compromise. And then, or one would have to give up the other thing and stop doing it, or stop thinking that way. Either the person who doesn't agree with cuddling and thinks it's cheating would have to change their mindset and be like, oh, well, it's fine, they cuddle their friends, they still come home to me, they love me, cuddling's just normal to them, I love them as they are, and I'm just going to accept it, I'm not going to worry, I'm not going to feel jealous or stressed or like they're cheating on me. I'm not going to, they're not going to be cheating on me because they're going to know about it, and everything's going to be fine. They'd have to try and change their mindset to that. Or the aromantic asexual would have to think like, oh, well, yeah, I've got a partner now, I'm about to get a partner, and like I can see their point of view, and yeah, I've been cuddling these friends really because I've wanted a partner and I haven't got a partner, but now I'm getting a partner, then maybe I don't need to cuddle my friends, but I don't know how to break the news to my friends because we're used to doing it all the time, I don't want to upset them, and so you've got this kind of like conflict and upset and difficulty going on, and that's why it's really difficult, because sometimes you can love a person so much, so want to be in a relationship with them, but you just know you can't make each other happy, because unless two people accept each other for exactly how they are, really, that they if they've got different boundaries and standards, one will hurt the other emotionally at least, and so it's very disappointing. But this is why it's very important early on in a relationship to get all these things established, so to quickly run through them again, the questions are, what are you looking for in a relationship, which is a more general question. Number 2 was how would that work on a day-to-day basis, and tell me how you envisage the relationship working. So this entails like like how often would you speak to each other, message each other, communicate with each other, like how would you fit jobs around each other's lifestyle, how would you fit your lifestyle into their lifestyle, would you live together, would you live apart, would it be long distance, would it be short distance, would it be in the same vicinity, all this type of thing. And then life goals, I said, are you having the same life goals, or are they completely different? If they're in 2 different directions, one person wants to go to one country, one person wants to go to another, that's not going to be compatible, unless like that's what you like to do in relationships, spend weeks and months apart. But if the life goal is, one's going to backpack around Australia for you and the other one wants to settle down and spend time with someone, it's not going to work, is it? And then distance, how far is this person from you? Is it logistically possible? Can they actually move to live near you, or you them? If that can never happen, you can't be in a relationship. I get so many guys who, like me, and I'm in the UK. I can't say long distance. It sucks. I can say long distance. Oh, sorry. You can say long distance sucks, Sparky. Yeah. I thought you said you can't stay long distance because it sucks. but you say you can say long distance sucks. Thank you for telling me that. I totally agree with you on that. I mean, I haven't been specifically in a long-term relationship, long distance relationship. I was asked to do a long distance relationship in the UK with an asexual guy, and it was for a month. I was technically in a relationship with him, but it was in the UK, so it's not fully long distance. Like I could get a train journey there, but it was long distance in my country. But I don't really think he was asexual, because when I said to him I won't be taking my clothes off when he comes to the hotel, he just changed his personality just changed, and he had a disability, but I think his not being able to have sex was not because he was actually asexual, but because his disability prevented him from doing it. I thought he was both, but I'm not sure that he was anymore, because like, why did he change when I said I'm not going to take my clothes off when I meet you in the hotel? It just seemed really odd behaviour, you know? And it seems like, you know, if he was an asexual person, I don't think he would have reacted that way, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But anyway, you know, but yeah, so that was the only time I've technically done long distance. But I think of long distance with someone in another country, and I think you're absolutely right, Sparky. I mean, I've seen other people have long distance relationship, and it is heartbreaking. Some people I've seen like are together 3 or 4 years, and then they split up because neither of them are going to move to the other person. Neither. They think they are. They say they love each other. Oh, you know, we'll see a few. You've got to see a future together. But like I said earlier in this video, you need to be planning 12 months to 18 months for that to be moving to basically be near that person. Anything more than 18 months, and most of the time it will just drag on and along, and excuses will be made. Oh, I can't do it now because I haven't got the money, or because of COVID, or, you know, for study reasons, or work reasons, or whatever, a huge amount of reasons. You know, you have to have a plan, you know, of how you're going to live together or move together, or one move to the other. You've got to have that goal. And if one person and the other person just can't afford to move, doesn't want to move, it's not going to work. And so, you know, I just personally can't do long distance. I mean, in June, the Indian asexual guy that I thought was my soulmate at the time, he asked me to do a long distance relationship, unofficial, with him, but I couldn't do that. I said to him, like, within 24 hours of me asking that, I said, I just can't do this. It's making me highly anxiety induced, and you know, if you can't even give me a date you're going to be over here, then I can't do it, because I cannot wait for someone in my life, right? Because at the end of the day, I've seen people, they just waste their life away, like 3, 4, 5 years they're in a long distance relationship, and it just ends because in the end no one moves. And so I'm not a mover, so I have to find someone who either move to me or stay single or do long distance. Yeah, been long distance for most of my 2-year relationship with my girlfriend, but we make it work whenever we are together. Oh, wow. That's really good, Sparky. How far are you in distance? Are you in another country or the same country? I mean, if it was long distance in the UK where I live, I could hack that to a certain extent. I still want them to come and move and live near me in the end, because one of us would have to move. But if it was like, for example, they were studying in London and I only got to see them like once or twice a month, I could hack that, you know, in person, because I'd actually physically get to be with them. But having someone in another country entirely, to me, is just like, I'm just no good at doing that. So I wondered what the distance actually was for you. But again, like, you know, one person mentioned she's gonna UK, about just over 190 miles. Oh wow, you're in the UK. Wow, yeah, you can make that work. I mean, my best friend, my best asexual friend, we're just friends, we're not romantic partners, they've got a partner. But my best asexual friend, their train trip to see me is over 177 miles in the UK. But they make that trip just to see me as a best asexual friend. So I would expect nothing less from a guy I'm in a relationship with, you know, if I ever get in a relationship, you know. So I think for me personally, I could do long distance for a certain amount of time if it was in the same country, because I don't actually need to live with a person. But I'd eventually still want them to come and live near me, just not with me, you know. And 5, sorry, was interests, if you've got the same interest, because you've got nothing in common, nothing to talk about, life's going to be very boring, especially when you're asexual and you're not focusing on sex. you have to focus on other things with the person, like hobbies, interests, activities to do together. It's so important. And then I was talking about physical compatibility, like asexuals all are different in terms of how much touching they'll accept or won't accept, where they like to be touched, where they don't like to be touched, like kissing, cuddling, all that type of thing. Everyone's got different boundaries. Some people might, like asexuals, participate in sex, others don't. So all that type of thing should be got out into the open in the beginning. And then boundaries and standards, because like I said, if you have different boundaries, sometimes you just can't make each other happy because you need the other person to change in order to make you happy if you don't feel comfortable with the way things would be. So you've either got to set the person entirely in their totality, or that person needs to naturally want to change, or if one of you tries to change for the other, you don't really want it, it's no good. She comes down once a month, I group the other, and we have a lot in common. So we have a minimum call a week. What's that? So I'm trying to read your chat on the phone. It's kind of hard. Live chat. So we have 2 calls a week minimum, but we always have something to talk about. Oh, this is really good. Yeah. I like usually, yeah, in a relationship or long distance, I probably like to be speaking to the person on the video call every other day, and I like to hear from them all the time, in the day. Like, when I say all the time, not every single minute of the day, but like throughout different days, like morning, how's your day going, and chatting to them later and messaging lots, So I need someone personally highly effectively communicating with me, and and the terms of video chat, I think a couple of times a week is good. Personally, like I said, for me, it's like every other day, which can be like 3 times a week. It's not actually that much more, I guess. 3 or 4 times a week. But, I think it's important if you're doing long distance to have a lot more video time. Yeah, we text a lot. Oh, that's really good. That's really good, I mean, I recently video chatted with an asexual guy who really likes me and I like him, but he lives in a completely different country, and I can't see him ever coming over here, not as things are. And so, I can't be in a relationship with him. I told him I can't do long distance. I need to find someone in the UK for me. If he can ever get over to the UK, things might be different, but until he can, or if he can, then I've got to keep searching for my guy. However much I like him, I have to keep searching, but when I was chatting to him, he has some different boundaries with friends to what I do. And so, that makes me feel very uncomfortable. And it's like either he would have to change that, or I would have to change, or it's just not going to work. One of us is going to be unhappy. And if either of us have to change, probably that person's not going to be happy changing because it's not really what they want. So we're just not going to be compatible. It's a bit of a shame, but this person's studying in their country for 4 years, or they might move to do another 2 years somewhere else. But they're not, they've told me before they can't come over here, they don't have the money, but they want to be with me. So it's kind of like really weird. But yeah, so if they've got different standards and expectations, different boundaries, it's gonna not work out, because like I feel uncomfortable with something they do, which other people might have no problem with whatsoever. But because I feel uncomfortable with it, I don't really want to build a relationship with a guy who does that thing, because to me that's not a good thing. It's not the right thing to do. But yeah, another person might not be bothered about it. And they were like talking about changing, and I said, but you're happy doing that. It makes you happy. You shouldn't change. You should just stay the way you are, but it's just not going to be suitable for me. So I need to look for a guy who doesn't do that already and who is different in that way. And then you need to look for a girl, I'm sure there's going to be some girls who don't have a problem with that and don't mind it, so, but it just means, I don't want to be uncomfortable because I've got to acknowledge my feelings, but I know that you like doing that, it makes you happy, and I don't want you to stop doing that. It's just incompatibility at the end of the day, which is a shame but true, so sometimes that's the way it happens. And we just We can't make the situation something it's not. There are some people that do actually change naturally down the line. They think, oh my God, like there are a few, I've met some people, well, I know at least one person this year I spoke to, and they're like, oh, well, I was cuddling, well, I wanted to cuddle my friends and I tried it, but then boundaries were overstepped. It got really awkward between us, and I kind of lost a friend over it. And so I don't cuddle my friends anymore, you know? So that was really refreshing to hear. And they changed that before I met them. So they already decided that they shouldn't be cuddling their friends because it just was awkward and didn't work out. So there might be somewhere down the line that a person does naturally change because they decide for themselves, well, actually, I think you're right. I don't think this is a good way to be. And I want to change myself because I want to be a better person, you know? That might happen. It's much rarer, you know? And that person's got to believe it's their own, they've done that. They've made the decision. Because if they don't take ownership for that, they can end up resenting you, thinking you're pushing that on them. Right? And it's like when I said to this person this thing I don't like, they're like, oh, why do you have to be so like hard with me or tough with me or something like that? But it's not that I'm hard or tough with them. It's just I personally don't like that. It's just complete overstepping boundaries. It's doing something that I don't believe they should be doing with just a friend. You know, and it's nothing wrong in what they're doing. It's quite harmless to some people, but it's just not suitable for me because it's not what I feel comfortable. If I was in a relationship with that person, people be like, when you say cuddle, do you mean a quick hug? Like when you're seeing a friend, or do you mean something different? No. So I'm okay with a guy hugging a friend hello and goodbye, like a quick hug, like, you know, like putting their arm around like this, you know, like a side hug, you know, like that, putting their arm around quickly. I'm okay with that. Cuddling is like prolonged hugging. If you know, cuddling is when you've got your arms around the person, and you know, and you're like, so for example, you're on the sofa with them and you're watching a Netflix movie and you've got your arm right round them and bringing them into you. That's cuddling. You know, that's very different between someone saying hug, hello, and goodbye. So if someone's saying hello, hug, like that hug either side or one of the sides of their neck, just a hug like this, or a side hug, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But there's a big difference between just a hello, welcome hug or goodbye hug and cuddling. So some asexuals I come across, they will literally sit and watch a movie together, cuddling on the sofa, which is where you put your arms around each other, you know, cuddle, might even stroke the person's hair, you know. And to me, cuddling should just be reserved for someone in a serious committed relationship, you know. And this person that I spoke to recently, who's an asexual guy, I do get on really well with him as a friend. He's a really nice person. But when it came to talking about relationship stuff or things I found out about him that he likes to do with his friends, the way he talks to them, or one in specific, it's not how I would expect a friend to talk to another friend. It's more like that person's in a relationship with them. And, you know, they're like, oh, we're just messing around. I don't have attraction for this person. And I was saying, like, okay, so if that's the case, then how, you know, so basically they speak to me exactly the same as they speak to this other person. But they say they're romantically attracted to me, but they're not romantically attracted to that other person. But their wording is identical. Their wording they use for me is identical to what they use for this person. And they want a relationship with me. They've made that clear, but they're not in this country, so we can't have one anyway. So, you know, I'd even go to say that some of the stuff is even more romantic with them than it is with me, you know? But they've been friends for a very long time with this person. And they said it's just how they are with each other. And that might be fine for them. But me personally, I'm so uncomfortable with that. Sparky. I'm just so uncomfortable. I just doesn't feel good to me. It feels awful to me. I feel like it's just like I'm in a would be if I was in a relationship with this person, I'd be in a relationship with them and their best friend. You know, it'd be like a threesome or something. That's how it feels to me. But another girl might not care. She might be like, I don't care what you say to your best mate. It doesn't bother me. It's just words. If that's your banter, if that's how you like to talk to each other, you know, it's really not a problem. But for me personally, I just felt so uncomfortable after they told me about it. Because if I'm in a relationship with someone and this person wants to be, in theory, if I was in a relationship and they were messaging someone just like they message me using the same language, and so that's still, I would be comfortable with that, and my girlfriend wouldn't be either. You would be comfortable with that, or you wouldn't be? I know you said your girlfriend wouldn't be either. Do you mean you wouldn't be comfortable with it? Wouldn't. Oh, thank you, Sparky. Yeah. Yeah, so I just, I just, exactly. It's really difficult for me to tell this. I mean, this person's very good friends with me, but I just not comfortable with it. And either I've got to change myself, which I'm not prepared to do because it hurts me. It hurts me to see them. I didn't even know they were like that until I kind of start seeing some of the things they wrote, the comments to this person. And their comments, it's just like they're in a relationship with this person. And they showed me their private messages. I didn't ask to see their private message. I'll make this clear. They offered. And I'm glad, because it's nice. It means they're honest. They're not hiding what they're doing. But I'm just not comfortable with it. I can't stand it. And it just makes me feel horrible. And they start saying, well, I can try and change myself with that person, make you happy. I'm like, no, because you shouldn't have to change. I don't want you to change, because at the end of the day, it makes you happy. You like being like that, and they're your best friend. But just, you're not going to be suitable for me to be in a relationship with, because I'm not comfortable with it. And they're like, but I want to make you happy, and I want to be in a relationship with you, not anyone else. And I'm like, but they can't really change. I know they said to me, oh, I'd like, I can change and not say that stuff to them, but I know that's not really what's going to make them happy. They're going to be so unhappy doing that, and I can't do that to them. I can't have someone doing something and then they feel bad that they're not doing the thing they want to do. And so we're just not compatible. And I tried to explain this to them and say, you need to look for a girl that's okay with that. And they're like, but I don't want another girl. But they can't be in a relationship with me anyway, because they're not even in this country. I mean, unless they decided, oh, right, well, this is really not on me talking to my friend like this, because I can understand her point of view and I wouldn't like it. But instead they're like, well, I wouldn't care if you were like that with a friend. So for them, it's acceptable. It's their standards, their boundaries, which are completely different to mine. And I respect that. And I don't want them to go around changing and then resent it. I don't think they could actually change. I think it would just be like, I don't want them to tell me something I want it here and then lie to me and say, oh, I can change and I won't do that. And they do it. And I don't want them to stop doing something they enjoy doing. And they've always been like this with this person, right? For a long time. So so it's really difficult. So I just can't do it. And so it just made me so uncomfortable. And I didn't know whether to say this on my stream or not tonight, because, I want to respect the person's privacy. I haven't obviously said who it is, which is good, but I was in a really long video call with them and I really like them, but I just can't do it, I need a guy who's naturally not going to be that way. I mean, I don't think they understand, like, why would I settle for a guy that does something that I don't personally agree with, that feels bad and horrible and uncomfortable to me, and it doesn't feel right. I can't be in a relationship for the rest of my life with someone who does that. It's just totally upsetting to me. It's like, why would you? When I first saw them messaging the exact same stuff they messaged me, I was like, I was actually really upset. I'm thinking, God, you just like, and I said to them, like, how is it any different? How you speak to your friend? How is it different with your friend? If you say exactly the same wording you say to your friend as you do to me, how is it any different? And basically, all it was to do is their feeling. They feel romantic attraction towards me, which they said they don't with this other person. But I'm thinking, why on earth do you write all this stuff then if you're not romantically attracted, and what's the point? And they're like, oh, it's just fun. We've always been like that with each other. But yeah, so it's disappointing. But I don't think they fully understood. I tried to tell them that, they should look for someone else, because I don't think they should change, But at the same time, I have to acknowledge my own feelings and say that I just don't feel comfortable with it. It would make me anxious. I just can't stand it. I think to myself, Sandra, there's loads of other guys in the world. You could find a guy who will be 100% faithful to you, who will not go around messaging his friends like he's in a relationship with them, who won't go off with other women, who you can be sure is gonna, like, if he has women friends, he's not gonna be writing stuff like that to them, or male friends writing stuff like that to them. And you're going to be able to trust him, like with women. You're not going to have to worry about if he's going to be worried about hurting another girl's feelings or something, so he can't say no to her. Or, like, if there's other women that come into his life, that he's going to start, like, being really friendly with them and, like, getting their number and stuff. I just don't want that type of life. I know different people are different, but I need to find someone who's really highly compatible with me. Someone who I don't need to change him, he doesn't need to change me. And we don't have to change for each other like that. And it's just really uncomfortable. It's really sad that they're like that, in terms of, because I would have liked a relationship with them in theory. But like I said, this person's not even in this country. But they got so many friends in this country. I won't lie, that sounds bonkers to me. I wouldn't speak to a friend the same way I do with my partner. Well, thank you, Sparky, for saying that. Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to rationalise it out, thinking, well, maybe, Sandra, it's just you, and, you just need to change, and you just need to accept it. But then I'm thinking, why should I? Because there's thousands of other guys out there, and why should I settle or accept second best with something I'm really uncomfortable about and don't believe that should be happening? And so I don't think they understand fully what I'm trying to say, that I cannot be in a relationship with them, however much I like them, because it just won't work. And I wouldn't be able to trust that they weren't going to be like that again. I just think they're too friendly, and this person, it's habitual with them. And yeah, I've not, the only time I've ever come across that is when they do fancy and are attracted to the person, but they swear they're not attracted to them. I just find it very difficult to believe. They use the same language, like they call me their girl, even though I'm not in a relationship. They call that person their boy or their guy. It's like very bizarre behaviour to me. It's like not normal. With all kisses and hearts and everything like that, even more so with them sometimes than me. And they say love you to them. They say that to me, and I'm like, it's just like, for me, it is bonkers, and I don't want to disrespect them. I respect that they're different to me and that everyone's different. Greetings. Oh, hi, Sam. Lots of love, my friend. So yeah, Sparky was saying they think that's bonkers, having a person say the same thing to their friend as they do their partner. I make no offence when I say this, just my girlfriend is special to me, and the way I talk to her is different and reflects that she is special to me. I would send a love heart to anyone but my girlfriend. Wouldn't send a love heart to anyone but my girlfriend. Yeah. No, I think that's really good, Sparky. I mean, I want that type of guy that you are for your girlfriend, because I would never speak to a friend the way he speaks to his friend. I just wouldn't do that. Like my best friend's here, Sam, will come on chat just then. Me and Sam are best friends. We care about each other a lot as friends. We're really close as friends, but we don't go around saying stuff like that to each other. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't happen because we don't feel that way about each other. We're close friends and really good friends, best friends, but it's different. Same with me. I wouldn't send anything intimate to anyone except my partner. Wouldn't, sorry, my phone hates me tonight. Oh, bless you. Yeah, exactly. So obviously I'm not revealing who I'm talking about because that's not fair on them, and I won't do that. I want that to remain anonymous, but I just kind of wanted to share it on this channel because it's interesting getting other people's points of view, where other people, if they think, like I'm justified in feeling the way I do, or whether, like I'm just being a bit, like not reasonable. But I think anyone who's not comfortable with something in a relationship shouldn't get into a relationship with that person, because it's going to make them uncomfortable, and you've just got different boundaries and standards and compatibility issues. It doesn't mean to say either is a bad person, but it means to say that, they're not going to be good for each other in a relationship. They can't have one. But yeah, it just, I've never ever seen anything like it where they're word for word match. And like you said, like Sparky said, like if you've got a girlfriend or someone you want to be your girlfriend, for example, then You would treat them differently. Sam, yes, definitely. You could both be lovely people, but just not suited to each other. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I, I, well, I hope they find someone who's compatible for them, really, because I've said to them, they're like, oh, but I don't want anyone else. I'm not interested in other girls. But I'm like, I just can't be in a relationship with a guy like that. I don't think they got it. I don't think they understood what I was saying. I spelled it out to them, but I don't. I think they just wanted me to put it to one side, but I had to go and do stuff, and so it was getting a bit emotional, so I just put it, like fine, park it for now. But I can't be in a relationship with that person because I would just be so unhappy. And why should I settle for second best? Why should I settle and be with someone potentially in a relationship where they're acting like that? I mean, when I actually asked them the question, I was shocked. Like I said to them, like, if you talk to me and them identically using the same language, the same words, how how is it any different? How is that? How is it different between me and them? And they just basically said it's attraction. I'm romantic attracted to you, and not them. But it's using the same language because they had, oh, that's a really good question. Like they'd never thought about it before. I said, how do you differentiate between a friend and a romantic partner, basic potential romantic partner? Like how, and it was just like that's all it is. It's a feeling. I mean, not the feeling's valid, but it's kind of like that's the only differentiation is a feeling. But exactly that you use exactly the same language and wording, I just like really uncomfortable with it. It just makes me really high anxiety induced, and I'm just thinking I can't be in a relationship with this type of person because they just, they're not suitable for me in that way, and it's a bit of a shame. But like I would think, like I just if they're like that with their best friend, just imagine what they might be like down the line with other people. Imagine what they're saying to their other friends. I mean, they've been very honest and kind of like showing me the different friends they've got and stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't know all their private conversations. And, if they're like that with this person, how many other people they like it with? They're like, oh, I'm just like this in this totality with this person. But it's like, I just don't think they're going to be suitable for me. But I don't think they got what I tried to explain to them, but I don't think they got that. I just can't, I need a guy who's strong for me and who's boundary driven. Like this is what I am with my friends, this is how I am with my partner. I don't speak to, like Sparky says, you would never speak to a friend like you speak to your partner because your partner's special. They're different. How your relationship with your partner is very different to anyone else. I would not expect any of my friends to start speaking to me like they do speak to their partner. That would just be bizarre. It's like I said, like I don't cuddle my friends. I might hug one or to say hello and goodbye. That's only if they want it. I don't need to do that. I don't need to hug a hello and goodbye. And so it's just like I was quite in shock when I found out. I'm just thinking it's just weird. For me personally, I just think it's really weird. Um, and so I think I think this is a big deal in any type of relationship. You've got to have similar standards. Thanks for the thumbs up, similar boundaries. You've got to have, real compatibility there. I've come across other people, like I've come across other asexual guys, which I've mentioned on this channel before. Like one of them, he was still going over to comfort his ex when she was like upset. And it was like fine because they're not together, but every time she was really really down and in a bad way, he would go to her. So even when he was in a relationship with someone else, it's like personally, if I was you, I would say you've got a new partner now, or you've got other friends that can help you out. I've split up with you now. I'm not with you anymore, so other people can take care of your needs, not me coming back. But he's got such a strong bond with his ex that he'll keep going back and helping her out. And I just don't want a guy like that either. Like even back in June with the asexual guy, Indian guy like back then, even I found out in the end it was really weird towards the end of him not deciding not to be with me. Basically, I blocked him anyway by then. Well, he decided that he wouldn't make a decision about whether to be with me or not for like a couple of months and just leave it, not speak to me for a couple of months. But he was losing interest, basically, admitted, and then decided not to be with me. So after I blocked him, anyway, yeah, even with him, he started telling me randomly, which I didn't know before, about this woman, this friend of his, female friend, and he promised her parents that he'd look after her. And so, because originally he was thinking about coming to this country, but it's like, oh, he hadn't told me that before. One of the other problems he had with coming to my country is the fact that he said to her parents he promised he'd look after her. So he was like, this is meant to be a friend of his, not a partner. But if she was ever in a really bad way, he'd be there for her, physically there. But he did say to me, he goes, "Oh, I don't have to be physically there for her, but I did promise her parents." And so it's like he had a kind of like unspoken contract with this girl, if you know what I mean, to look after her. I have come across some other guys like that as well, and I find that bizarre. It's like, how can you have a full life and future with someone else if you are helping someone out, like you're in a relationship with them, like like you are like needing to do stuff for them, like anytime that person's really down and in a bad way, you're like kind of physically there and sorting them out, like kind of like a boyfriend girlfriend would do, if you know what I mean, in my opinion. I think it's good for you to be there for someone as a friend. I think that's necessary for you to be there as a friend, but this person was like physically rushing to her aid and being there for her. It was kind of like, to me, like it would be hard to be in a relationship with that type of person, because if anything happened, like if you're going along with your life with that person in a relationship, but anything happened with this other girl, he would have to go and rush to her to like help her out and save her, basically, save her from doing something bad. And it's like, it's kind of like a reliance on, this girl's reliant on him, like emotionally and physically, and in that way, physically, but he did say, I don't necessarily need to be there in person with her, but I did promise her parents that I'd be there to take care of her. And so, for me, again, I mean, it's obviously it's different culture as well. He was Indian. But for me personally, it's kind of like he's having another relationship. Like he's always tied to this other person. Like he's always like got to look after this person. Like, to me, that's too much of a relationship with someone else. And I've come across other guys who've actually had exes as well, like that. Even other guys that are like that, and or other guys that have got best female friends, and they have to they can't leave them type thing. It's like they, like it's not the same as like having friends where you're there for each other. It's more kind of like dramatic than that. It's more like they're tied to a contract with that person, a verbal agreement. And it's like, so if you have a partner, you've still got a contract with this other person. I don't know how to describe it. It's just not, for me, it's not normal friendship. It's more like a contract to promise to always be there for someone, to take care of them, like you're looking after them like a baby type thing, like you're nurturing them, like you would be looking after them like in a relationship type nurturing way, if you know what I mean. It's very difficult to describe, but I know what I mean, because obviously I think people should be there for their friends, but I know the way my friends are with me, and they would not be like that over me. They would look after me from afar, as in be there as much as possible, but they wouldn't have this kind of underlying contract. You know what I mean? It's very difficult to describe, but I know the difference between the friendships I have and healthy friendships, I would call them. Whereas, you're there for each other as much as possible, but you've got your own life, and, got a partner if you've got a partner, and you see other people, and you're not saying like forever and a day, I promise blah 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 to be here, blah blah blah, whenever this person's like in this mood, blah blah blah, and you're kind of like really tied into a like contract. It's like a contract, a verbal agreement. It's very weird. It's like you've got a relationship, that person's always going to have another relationship with this person. Whereas if and I'm thinking, this girl surely is going to get out a boyfriend of her own eventually. She's probably got other friends. Why does this one person have to be the person to be with her at that time? Do you know what I mean? It's kind of crazy. I would think that if you're in a relationship in the future, you should be there for your partner and not have like a contract with someone else. I find that bizarre. It's just weird. It's very different, because this guy had a best female friend who he would talk to each week, and that I didn't have a problem with. Like, I knew she was his best friend, and they would talk about stuff, so that I didn't have a problem with. But when he started telling me about this other girl, that he was kind of like tied to her, and he told me that afterwards he rushed to her aid because she was like really in a bad way, and he promised her parents, and then it went wrong because her parents blamed him for something that went wrong with that, and I'm thinking, you're very mixed up and involved in her like it felt like it was kind of like a semi-romantic partner treatment, or it felt like, I don't know if I don't think it was his ex-girlfriend, but it kind of felt like that type of thing. So I just don't want to get mixed up with guys who are like involved with their exes, having to like be there for their exes, Hell no, that sounds like he's not over his ex. Yeah, exactly, So I don't even know if this girl was his ex. He didn't say to me she was his ex. He said that she was his friend. So basically, he just said she was a friend, and he promised he'd always take care of her. So basically, she was in a really bad way one night. He went over there, but he was a bit late going over or something, and then the parents, I think, blamed him for things happening because he wasn't there exactly on time or something, or I don't know exactly what happened because he sprung it on me. I never even knew he had this friend. That's what's even worse. I never knew he had this friend. So I knew he had the female friend and some other friends from work. I knew he had this female friend that he used to like phone up. But I didn't know he had this friend that he like sprung it on me towards the end of when he was kind of going off me, if you like. And he kind of like, oh yeah, well, one of the other problems with me coming over to the UK, when originally he was thinking about coming over to the UK anyway before I even met him, and then all these obstacles and reasons not to come over the UK surfaced. This is one of the reasons that I knew nothing about, but I never even knew about this friend. But like you say, Sparky, to me it sounds like an ex. But like, he didn't say it was his ex. He just said she's a really good friend, and he's always said that. But it was like, if anything ever happens to her, he'd be devastated, kind of thing, and he's got to protect her and be there for her. But it would be like being in a relationship with him with another woman, if you know what I mean, in that way. I just think people who are, it's like any guy. Sandra, hello, nice to see you. Hey, Sandra, baby girl, did you say? I think you said, yeah. So, yeah, Sparky, that's what it sounds like, an ex to me, but he never said she was his ex. So, yeah, I just find that bizarre, It's kind of like, I don't have any blokes, guys, that I would have to be there no matter what and be the go-to person that's like responsible for them. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like he is responsible for her. Like you'd be in a relationship. In a relationship, you're kind of having an underlying responsibility to take care of that person, don't you? Like it's like your duty to look after that person as much as possible in a relationship. Like if they go into hospital, if they fall, if they're suicidal, if they are really, if they're ill, or some sort of things happening to them, you kind of like in a relationship, you've got this underlying responsibility that you need to take care of them and put them first as much as possible, because they are your relationship person. They are different to other people. They're meant to be different to other people in your life, and usually you'd put a person first. Hey, Sandra, baby girl, so good to see you. You don't very often call me your baby girl. Well, you didn't say your baby girl, but you don't often call me baby girl, do you, Leah? But lots of love to you. I quite like that, actually. It's a very romantic thing to say, I'll have you know. Um, I'm single, though, so it's fun. But, baby girl, so sweet. But yeah, so I just find that, bizarre. So it was like he was tied into some sort of responsibility contract with her. And that's how I would expect someone to act in a relationship with someone, not act as a friend. You know what I mean? It's just very, very bizarre. Thanks for the thumbs up. So yeah, I just come across people that seem to be not very boundary driven. Like I need a guy who's really boundary driven, someone who's like, this is my friends, love my friends dearly as friends, but this is my partner. I'm very different with my partner. My partner. I expect my friends to put their partner first. I don't, even though I'm really good friends and best friends, I still expect that, I still know that their partner is going to be their number one priority overall, because they're in a relationship. And I think, sometimes I think some asexuals, they don't really understand that a person's got, in a relationship will be putting their partner first. They kind of like, oh, well, some asexuals have come across, it's like they used to spend excessive, or I would call it excessive time with their friends, maybe like 5 days a week or something with their friends. And it's like, oh my, or even maybe every day, like, and it's like they got a partner now. It's like, and they complain about it. It's like, you can't expect the person you're friends with. My friend is like a brother to me. I will always be there for my friends, but for my girlfriend is number one. Yeah. Um, yeah. Um, yeah, I just it's difficult for me to say what I mean, you know? Because me and my friends are very close. We're there for each other, you know, don't get me wrong. With video chat, I have my friends come and see me. We're very close. That's why I don't bother with friends, said Liam. So I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying. I think it's very important to be there for your friends in dark and difficult times. And, you know, my friends get suicidal. I've had really dark times in recent months. We've all been there for each other. But it's not the same type of thing, if you know what I mean. I don't know how to describe it. To me, it's like they're in a contract, and responsible. They are literally like, you know, like when you get married or you're in a relationship, you kind of got a responsibility to that person. It's kind of an underlying contract, a verbal contract, an agreement, and underlying under no, you know, you just know you've got a huge responsibility to take care of that person. Um, and obviously family is very important and stuff like that. I mean, of course, if someone's like suicidal and they're your friend or whatever, you go and help them out. But I don't know how to describe it. It's like this person really ideally cannot move because they've got to be there to help this other person. They made a promise for the rest of their life to be there for this person. I mean, I know my friends, like one of my best friends, for example, she's possibly going to move away in 6 months or a year's time. She could, you know, if she'd have promised me, I'm going to be there for my friend Sandra no matter what, I promise for the rest of my life, how would that work with her partner? Because they're intending to possibly move to Spain. How would she be able to do that? She'd be like, I'm sorry, I promised, I've got to be there for my female friend, you know. The less people know me, the better. That's just how I think, says Liam. So, you know what I mean? It would be no good. So my best female friend, I love her to bits as my friend. We've known each other since 2012. We don't see each other that much, actually. Probably once every 6 weeks or something. But, you know, if she had, just suppose she had promised me to be here all my life for me, whenever I needed her, so it required her to physically be here, she couldn't then move away to be with her partner and live a happy retirement life or whatever she do elsewhere because she would promise me that. It'd be like she's tied to me. Do you see what I mean? That's very different from having a healthy, loving relationship. Whereas, like, you know, it's okay. She can video chat with me. You know, like, I mean, I don't expect my friends are going to be there every time I have down moments. I know that my friends have their own life. You know, I would love them to be there as much as possible. I want to be there as much as possible for them. I think we are there as much as possible for each other. But I wouldn't expect and tie them into like a contract saying you've got to be there for me forever, even though I'd love them to be there for me ever as much as possible, and vice versa. I wouldn't promise I wouldn't promise that. I wouldn't expect them to promise me that. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like when you make that promise, it's for life. Like for me, that's the type of promise you would make in a marriage or a long-term relationship. Like I promise to always be here for this person, no matter what, and you know, no matter what. So it doesn't matter if I get a partner. This person's like come first. If you know, I don't know how else to describe it. But I know what I mean. There's just differences. Like I said, the best way I can describe it is my friend Debbie. She's going to go away to Spain probably to live forever or for, you know, for the foreseeable, live in the UK or Portugal or wherever she's going to go to. She's always wanted to retire. You know, like if I was a selfish friend, I'd be like, oh, you know, you can't go. You can't leave me. You know, you're the only best female friend I got. I don't want you to go. You know, that would be wrong. I'm not like that. I'm like, you go. You know, I want you to be happy. It's great you've got that. You know, I know that she's probably going to leave the UK one day. And I have to accept that. You know, I can't tie her down to me, right? And expect her to be there for me physically whenever I need her and stuff like that. It's just like she wouldn't be able to have a happy life with her partner on her own. You know what I mean? That people have to have some sort of autonomy. Is autonomy the right word with their partner? They have to have some sort of freedom with their partner to be able to actually, you know, like have a loving relationship where they, you know, they're kind of like make an agreement with each other to be there forever for each other. And I know my best friends, Sam and Andy and stuff, should be. So from what you're saying, for this person, his friend came first, then their partner. Is that correct? Well, they were saying that it would be very difficult for them to move because they promised this person they'd look after them for the rest of their life, basically. Yeah. So if you have promised someone else, you'll look. If I promised a guy, I will look after you for the rest of my life, no matter what, even though we're not in a relationship. And I got a partner, a male partner. How do you think the male partner's going to feel about that? Well, I've got this guy who I've promised. It's very different. I've promised this guy I will always be there for him, no matter what. And so my partner comes along, and it's kind of like I've got this contract, this agreement with this other guy. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know how else to describe it, but I know exactly what I mean. And so, you know, like, you can't tie yourself down to a person, in my opinion, who's not actually your relationship partner, because you might need to move somewhere with your partner or do something, and it might mean that you can't be there for that person. You might want to move away, you know, from the person. Like I said, my best, you know, I don't know what to say, but I know what you mean. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So, you know, like, so, um, I just don't like guys who go around doing that with other women, because to me, it's like you've always got a responsibility and a kind of contract with another person. It's like, you know, just imagine, I don't personally agree with marriage, but just, I mean, I don't know how to, yeah, you know, if someone's married and they're going off, you know, whenever another woman's upset, they're like, oh, I've got to be there for her, comforting her, making sure she's all right. And you know what I mean? It's kind of like, well, you're married to me. Why are you going off with another woman to comfort her? Like, she's got her own friends, surely. She's got a boyfriend, or is she not? You know? It's like you can't have your own life, you know? So I would never, you know, like, I would hope my friends will stay in this country. Hope I always be friends with them. And I think I will be friends with my best asexual friend, Sam and Andy. That is a massive red flag. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, Sparky. Yeah, I was trying to, exactly. But I didn't know this till towards the end. And I'm thinking, you're basically tied to a contract with a female friend. Like, and he's like, oh, well, I don't have to be here in person, but basically I promised her and promised her parents that I would always take care of her. And it's like, you know what I mean? To me, it's just like, that's great and caring and kind of you, but I don't see how you can have a future with another woman, especially not if you were to move. How could you ever move if you've promised that? So yeah, I think promises, for me, I take promises very seriously, and I would never promise someone to be with them for the rest of their life unless I actually meant it and was in a relationship with them. Just run away, that can't be healthy. Yeah, I don't see this guy anymore. I blocked him back in June, 28th of June. So yeah, but I've come across other guys like that. It's shocking. I'm just surprised how many guys treat other women like they're in a relationship with them, and then they expect to get another relationship, actually an official relationship with a woman, and it's kind of like, how can you effectively have an actual official relationship with a woman, yet you still have these kind of like underlying contracts or responsibilities with these other women? You know what I mean? Like, I can't be with a guy who just goes running after other women every time they're upset. I mean, I don't actually get on that well with women. I get on better with blokes. And that's why, because a lot of women I've come across, they use it as emotional manipulation as well for a guy, because they're attracted to the guy. And to wrap the guy around their little finger, they'll be like, oh, I'm so upset, something bad happened today, I need you, I'm in a panic, please come over. Do you know what I mean? Women can be like it. I know from experience from my ex who acted like that with various other guys. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm glad you said that, Sam. Because, you know, I just think it's so bad. Women are really, like, women can be very deceiving. I mean, the women that are, some women I've come across, they're like, try to wrap the guys around their little finger, you know, like, oh, you know, like, one of the worst things to do is say, you know, to an ex, I'm suicidal, right? Who you're not in a relationship with them, I'm suicidal, so I need you now. It's an emotional blackmail tactic, basically saying, I'm going to kill myself or do something bad to myself if you don't come to my rescue. And if that person's in a relationship with another person, they're going after the other person because they're suicidal and threatening suicide. Usually it's an emotional blackmail tactic. They should have their own friends, and potentially they've got another boyfriend by now. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's just, if it's an ex, it's bad. If it's not an ex, if it's a friend, they might genuinely feel that way and be in that state. But it's like promising to look after them for the rest of your life. To me, that's only a commitment you should make to someone in a relationship. Long-term relationship, you want to spend forever with that one person. A relationship, promise to be with them and look after them forever. I don't personally think you can promise anyone specifically like that. Seriously, I promise to always be there for you always. I don't think you can do that, because how have you got the flexibility to move within your actual official relationship and to be able to do what you want in it if you're tied to, you're kind of tied to someone else? I don't think that's good. My ex used to try that with me. It's not healthy at all. Oh, Sparky, I'm sorry you had that. I mean, what my really abusive, my phone I think is gonna die soon because I'm on my phone at the moment, so I have to go in a little while. But if it dies, if it goes off, you know why. But yeah, one of my exes, he was really bad. The guy I was with in a very long-term relationship with, and when he left me, he came back with his wrists slashed, but they weren't slashed properly. They were only perforated a little bit, and it was just horrible. Sam, I struggle with suicidal thoughts, but I would never expect anyone to promise me to be here for me because of that. It is my issue, no one else's. Thank you, Sam. Yeah. I mean, obviously I'll try and be there for you as much as possible because we're best friends, and I would always be there for you as much as I possibly can be. You know, but like you say, it's not because I'm contracted to you, it's because I want to do that for you, and because we're such good friends, and I would always want to be there for you always as much as possible, but it's different. Me and Sam know what you know what I mean. Like you say, like I would not, if I have a lot, I can have mental health difficulties sometimes. Well, particularly over the last 12 months when I was in a day job that was no good for me, and I finally left it, and I was, but I don't expect anyone to like be so, I don't expect to have anyone who's responsible for me. Do you know what I mean? But myself. So to actually expect, like to be in a relationship or potential relationship with someone who's got that with a friend, like a contract, is just, to me, is very unhealthy. And it's, how can you truly have a relationship and be there for the person, an official relationship, if you're like tied to someone else? It's just crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. So I think there's a very big difference. There's healthy friendships where you kind of know that if if you've got friends that are in a bad way, you're going to help them out as much as possible, right? But you also know that they've got their own life. Like I know that I get really upset sometimes, but I don't expect my friends to be there for me every time I'm upset. I've got to work through it myself. It's just the way it is, and that is like healthy. You know what I mean? So, like I said, my best female friend, she might be moving with her partner, and I'll miss her, but I'm happy for her because she needs to be free with her partner and do what makes her happy for the rest of her life. Just imagine if she was tied to a friend here and someone she could never leave. Just imagine how trapping that is, So I just don't see how I could ever be in a relationship with a guy who's got this like contract and responsibility to another person like that. It's just like, to me, it's crazy. It's crazy. I think sometimes people are very strange with some relationship stuff these days. Like it's like, how can you have a serious committed relationship if you've got another person you're taking care of? In you know what I mean, in that way, and you're responsible for them. It's just like weird. And like I said, saying stuff to friends that you would say usually in your relationship, it's the same. It's just bizarre. So I just personally find dating and relationships very interesting, but it's also very heartbreaking sometimes. I need a guy who's very boundary driven like I am. I think when you got, like, me and Sam are best friends, but we've got very similar boundaries in friendship, Like, we would never cuddle each other. That would be gross. We'd both be going, the idea, My girlfriend just knows when I feel down. I don't know how, but she always says what's happened to us. Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, let me try and pull that message. What happened to us, or how are we? And having her as that support means the world. I wouldn't have that with anyone else. Oh, I'm glad you said that, Sparky. Yeah, that's what I was trying to explain. Like, you've got a special relationship with your partner, and if you're feeling down, you know they're there for you and they just understand you, and you wouldn't have that relationship with anyone else. Exactly. That's exactly the type of thing I was trying to say, you know? Like, I love my friends dearly. They love me even if they don't say so, because I feel that. But it's different to a romantic love and someone you're actually in a relationship with. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think when you're in a relationship with someone, it's like you, even if you're not married, you're like in a verbal agreement kind of responsibility contract with them that you want to be in. Like, it's like, I want to take care of you. I want to look after you. I want to be emotionally supportive to you. I want to be physically close to you. That you don't have with anyone else, really. You have it exclusive with your partner because that's the differentiating factor. You know, if you've got no differentiation, it's like you just, if you're polyamorous, fair enough. But if you're monogamous, it's like you've got no differentiation there. It to me, it's just like there's no boundaries. And when there's no boundaries, the relationship can't be secure. To me, it's a very insecure relationship because there isn't boundaries and well, there isn't the same boundaries. And if there's two different sets of boundaries, it means they're not going to be compatible. One's going to go this side, one's going to go that side. You can't be stable like that because there's no stable surface. If you think about it as two like pieces of would, this person's got that boundary there, this person's got that boundary, it's very different. They might be in the middle, but they're going to tip up and down because there's no stability there. If someone's got the same basis for a relationship, boundaries, the other person got boundary, they're much more strong and secure. And I didn't realize this in the past, and so I think you've got to have the same, people have got to have the same boundaries, they've got to have the same standards, similar expectations, and then everything's a lot more calm and secure in the relationship, because you can trust that person because they're like you, so you know how you are, so you know how they are, and everything's a lot more comfortable. I think when you've got two people who just completely think differently and are tied to other people in some way, or saying the same sort of things they would be to them as they are in a relationship, or doing the same sort of duties or having the same sort of responsibilities, I just think boundaries are completely like pulled out of all proportion and they're all over the place. And I think if two people, you've got two people and they both like got a contract with someone else outside that relationship, fair enough, because they're both like that. But when you've got people who are very different in that way, I don't think it's a healthy relationship. I just think people will be miserable either way, and it's not good or healthy, really. So I'm glad Sparky's got a healthy relationship. Sam's got a healthy relationship. I've got a healthy relationship with myself and my friends. So I think that's the way it should be. And I think we just have to I want a guy who's really into me specifically, and I don't have to worry about with other people, him going around saying similar stuff to other people as he does to me, and kind of like being all over the place like that and not being boundary driven. Because this guy's, going back to the first guy I was talking about, he's like, oh, why are you being so strict with me? And it's like, you're just different to me. If you want to be like that, that's fine, but you're not compatible with me. Because a person who was the same as me wouldn't think that's strict. They think it's boundary. I'm glad that I've got boundaries. I mean, I don't think any guy would like it if I was like that with a guy, with another guy. So, I just wouldn't be like that with another guy. I wouldn't be beholden to another guy to take care of him for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? It'd be weird. But anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you on that note because my battery's going to die soon. And thank you very much, Sparky. As you said earlier, don't settle for being someone's second choice. Yes, Sparky, don't settle for being someone's second choice or them having different standards. It just means you're not at the standard or they're not at the standard you require, or vice versa. And lowering your standards. Don't lower your standards as well. So important. So thank you, Sparky. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Liam, for being here. I'm going to sign off for now. Lots of love. And it's been great to see you, speak to you. And thank you for being here. Lots of love. Take care. Bye. Thank you for your input.